we don't hear about these kind of stories all too often, family. That's why I decided to highlight it and, to show the power of a self-hating Negro. Here we have it, you know, teen shooter, a black teen shooter by the name of Solomon Henderson, went into his school cafeteria down there in Nashville and unalived a 16-year-old Latino girl and, harmed some other student at that school. And this is an extreme case. If I've ever seen any, I never seen none this extreme of a black kid, with self-hate and anti-black views on things. In all actuality, this kid wanted to be white. They found his pictures of him on the internet and his manifesto. He talked about harming black people. Now the news media is trying to flip the narrative of, him wanting to harm minorities, people of color, and, having anti-Jewish views on things, and all of these terms, him being, anti-Jew, this, that, and the other. This is done to suppress the anti-black racism shown because, they want you to take your eyes off of anti-black racism. This is why they put that kind of stuff out there. In all actuality, this dude was an extreme case of anti-black racism. He had white face on, he was throwing up the Hail Hitler sign, throwing up the white supremacist okay sign to signal that he's on code with white supremacist groups. In fact, they say that he was involved in some racist white supremacist groups online. Now they ain't putting it out there, as to what white supremacist groups and radicalized right wing extremist groups he was involved in. But I for sure as hell like to know. And another aspect I like to know, was this kid being raised by his biological parents, his black parents, or was he some kind of foster kid being raised by white parents? I don't think it put that out there either. If it did, I don't know about it because we with that black mindset, that FBA mindset, first and foremost know that racism, white supremacy is a learned behavior. Now, was he raised by his biological black parents and they were self-hating Negroes, or they could have just been good parents. But I'm wondering the aspect where they self-hating Negroes because did they project their self-hatred onto their child, and teach them, to hate self and go against blackness? Or, was he raised by, foster parents, white parents who instilled their racist white supremacist ideology in him? Because one thing's for sure, two things for certain, he for sure as hell had a lot of self-hatred towards himself and, black people. But or he could have just had good parents, because you could raise a kid and put them on the right road, put them on the good path, but in all actuality, when they get to a certain age, they're gonna go on whatever path they choose, be it the good path or the wrong path. Because when you get to a certain age, you can raise your kids right, but it's out of your hands. But I just like to know the aspects of the parents, you know what I mean? And they said that he was following Natalie Rupp now, and she was following him. The two were following each other on social media, and Natalie Ruppnow was also a white supremacist school shooter. And they also tried to flip the narrative with her and say that it was about Jewish people, this, that, and the other. And all of these terms are done to, suppress the anti-black racism. They want you to take your eyes off of anti-black racism. Because this Natalie Ruppnow was talking about once you lay down with an N word with the hard ER, you are now one, and how much she hates N words with the hard ER. And she was throwing around that N word with the hard ER like it was going out of style. And so was this Solomon Henderson. And truth be told, this looks crazy on the part of Solomon Henderson to have this amount of black hate for himself and his own group. You know what I mean? And it shows the extreme, how extremely dangerous people, black people that got this kind of, racist ideology are. But this ain't the mindset of most of our people. But what white supremacy will do is use it to say, see how black people hate themselves when in all actuality this ain't the mindset of most of our people. Of course you always gonna have a few exceptions to the rules, like in this case, because this guy was, an extreme case of what a person looks like that has hate for their own self. The fact that he was even talking about unaliving his own parents now, putting on white face, this, that, and the other. So I got the audio and the video of this, and we're gonna walk through it and talk about it how we normally do, family. And I think it also should be mentioned that I almost forgot to add this, that he said he was influenced by Nick Fuentes, which is a known white supremacist. Also, Mr. Beast, who I don't know as being a white supremacist, but he could be an undercover one because we always know that we got undercover ones, but I don't know him to be a white supremacist. And he also said he was, influenced by Candice Owens, Picture that, Candice Owens, because Candice Owens, truth be told, she's the mascot of what a person that has anti-black hate for their own self look like, because she's a self-hating Negro. So, did he see himself aside of Candace Owens? That's certainly something we can't take our eyes off of, that can't be left off the table. But now I'm noticing them trying to prop Candace Owens up as to be the mascot of why this was done. The Jewish, the JDL is trying to prop her up as, he took on her mindset, and they leaving off Nick Fuentes, which is a known white supremacist. Now, I ain't putting the cape on for Candace Owens neither, but it shows you how white supremacy, use you as a mouthpiece to go against black people, to throw you up under the bus and leave you out there naked, alone once they done with you, because you don't hear them talking about, Nick Fuentes. I'm seeing them mainly, putting out why this was done because he has some of the views Candace Owens has, and they only play that anti-Semitism card against black people. You know what I mean? They only pull that card with black people. You don't see them, case in point here. They ain't propping up Nick Fuentes to be, why this was done. They only pull that card when it comes to black people, which all goes back to them getting on cold with one another, no matter what they are, Jew or not. They've all practiced racism, white supremacy. So that's very telling as well. But like I said, I'm not putting the cape on for Candace Owens neither, because she ain't nothing more than a tether to me and a bad wench who, talks negatively about foundational Black American society. But I got the audio and the video of, this self-hating young teen by the name of Solomon Henderson, and we're going to walk through it and talk about it how we normally do. Just a second, family. Here we go. Still unanswered tonight. Fair use, fair use.
If anyone knew about Henderson's plan, the manifesto does mention someone helping him write part of it. And Jared Holt, you just saw there.
See, someone helped him write part of it. This is very telling, Was he sent out there by white supremacist groups, to unalive and kill a bunch of black people, and he just missed his target and hit a Latino girl? And I want to say RIP to her, and my condolences goes out to her family, and that other student that was injured. But was he sent out there, by white supremacist groups because it said he had help in writing his manifesto? And we, with that FBA mindset, know that white supremacist organizations, they'll use black people as a crash dummy to get out there and do their dirty work or be their mouthpiece and do the things that they too cowardly to do, and they can't do because they know that if they get out here, they're going to catch a lot of backlash for it being white, but they know they can use a buffer person, a black person to get out there and, handle their business for them, and leave them out there, alone. So I guess it's something certainly that we got to look at. He could have been sent out here by racist, right wing white supremacist groups because they said he was a part of them online. Now, they didn't say what groups. I like to know what groups he was a part of so we can identify, where this anti-black racism is coming from. But let's continue.
And Jared Holt, you just saw there, says extremists in online communities identified him as the shooter before police did.
He was damn sure involved in them groups if they identified him before police did. That's very telling. But let's continue.
The teen shooter left behind a lengthy diary, giving even more insight into his thoughts leading up to the shooting. Now, News Channel 5 investigates reporter Levi Ismail went through.
Another thing I want to, add in there, family. I've seen, cases of, buck dancing coons, like, here and there. I've seen them, at jobs where they, do buck dancing to try to get, elevated to a different position, try to get a raise so they be the performing Negro for the dominant white society. But this, truth be told, right here is an extreme case, if I've ever seen one, of the power of a self-hating Negro. Here, this Solomon Henderson was wearing, white face, saying Hell Hitler, putting up that white supremacist okay sign. This is very telling, and it shows to how extremely dangerous these kind of people are. But let's continue.
Page by page, and tells us what he found. It's the first 4 words of a more than 288-page diary, but it sets the tone for everything you read after. Those words, quote, "I'm burning with hate." From October of last year to the day he carried out his attack at Antioch High School, 17-year-old Solomon Henderson filled these pages with graphic images, Nazi symbols, and plans to carry out an attack. Henderson obsessed over mass killers around the world and declared that he too.
This Solomon Henderson wanted to be white by all means. He was a white supremacist in black skin, if you ask me. But let's continue.
Intents on doing something to kill at least 10 people. But how does this young man go from active high school student to active shooter? If we just look at it broadly, a lot of people that have carried out these sort of acts have felt othered. Lauren Ruth Martin is a licensed therapist with novel counseling in Franklin. We could go, scientifically for a minute. Our brains aren't fully developed when we're 17. Where our brains are actually on fire. And so not a lot makes sense, and decision making is altered. Martin says this is not about trying to humanize someone responsible for committing a horrible crime, but
Sure it ain't, and I don't make no excuses for this self-hating Negro neither. But the dominant white society, white media get out here and try to humanize these white supremacist school shooters that go into schools on white supremacist rhetoric, and unalive innocent people all day, left and right. That's because it's a white supremacist system we under, and they look out for and coddle and pamper their own. When a white supremacist go into school and unalive a bunch of people. Oh, he had mental health issues, he or she. They were struggling with drug addiction. They didn't have no friends and family, and let it be a black person that does this, for some strange reason, they become, the worst thing since rice pudding. They were a degenerate since birth. You get my drift. It all plays and ties into that white supremacist thing. But let's continue.
Horrible crime, but understanding how we got here. Henderson, by his own admission, fought with his parents and even wrote in his diary about killing them at one point. Struggles with his self-image and
See, I wonder, was he raised by his biological parents? Were these black people that he was raised by? Because he talked about killing his parents, so they could have possibly been black. That's why he wanted to unalive them. And I wonder his parents' ideology on things. Were they self-hating Negroes, or were they the good parents that raised him right, and he just got off course with a path of righteousness, or was he raised by foster parents who were in fact white supremacists and programmed with their ideology and mindset? But let's continue.
Killing them at one point. Struggles with his self-image and resentment over minorities were only amplified once Henderson found community.
You hear that, family? They keep on trying to put in there resentment of minorities, people of color, and even them saying he had hatred for Jewish people and trying to say that he was influenced by Candice Owens, to have hatred towards Jewish people. These is all, being thrown in there to suppress and to get you to take your eyes off of the anti-black racism. This was done because this was a self-hating Negro who was, hating himself and wanted to harm black people, if you ask me. And these kinds of people are very dangerous to self-hating Negro.
Over minorities were only amplified once Henderson found community and a sense of belonging with white supremacy groups online. It's a perfect storm. In online communities, you can also access those in a private way. You get to be the person that you want to project out there.
Did they accept him into them white supremacists, right-wing extreme groups, to get him to be the crash out person, the crash dummy, because they'll use a black person as a crash dummy, but in all actuality, black people will never be accepted in the white supremacist society, and case in point, Candice Owens, she'll never be accepted. They just use her to spew their rhetoric, because you see that, and I don't make no excuse for Candice Owens because she ain't nothing more than a tether, but I don't see them elevating Nick Fuentes as being the reason that this Solomon Henderson did what he did, because the JDL just pointing to it being, Candace Owens, in all actuality, they get on code with white supremacy as well. They all work in conjunction with one another. But let's continue.
You get to be the person that you want to project out there online without anybody truly questioning it. Henderson often wrote things like, quote, "I wish I was white. Self-hating N-word award goes to," with a picture of his eyes. If we just focus on that idea.
And that ain't just a picture of his eyes, that's a picture of him, putting that white supremacy hand signal, that okay sign up to let, signal the white supremacist society that he's on code with them. And I think he was right when he said he is a self-hating Negro, because this is a extreme case of a self-hating Negro, and the kind of, nonsense they could, pull off, And I want to say RIP to that young girl who lost her life, due to this heinous action. And I think we need to look into some of the aspects of this case that ain't being talked about, as far as them groups he was involved in. Was he operating in conjunction with other people that sent him out there from white supremacist society to be the crash dummy? So let me know what you think about this, family, in the comment section, because it's certainly a lot of elements and layers to this case, and certain things they ain't putting out there. They try to sweep stuff under the rug and make it look like it wasn't no anti-black racism involved. That it was this group, that group, so on and so forth. They make it about everybody under the sun but black people. They want you to get you to take your eyes off the ball in terms of that. But let me know your thoughts on the situation, family. And these are just my thoughts on the matter. Peace.